Good afternoon, everyone. So this is part three. Yesterday we were discussing importance of econometrics, problem with the understanding or theoretical part that we study this particular subject, and especially importance in the social sciences and with the increasing trend of more data sets. So let's start from the yesterday that where we left. Just a basic intro. Then today I will start with the basic methodology of the econometric process, steps one by one. So this is the framework that I already explained yesterday, that this is the framework for this particular series, and how this framework is formulated, and what are the other left out portions that we'll cover in the part 4 that I was explaining yesterday. So just in brief, because yesterday recordings I don't know whether I didn't save that file, but that's not in my laptop. Just in a brief, that why this how this econometrics came in picture and why it's important. So whenever you have some theories like economic theories, then you have these relations of variables, and then if you want to measurement for that relations, econometric estimates of those relationships, then you need econometrics to measurement those parameters or economic estimates of relationships. So there this econometric thing came in the picture. Means if you only restricted to descriptive part or just to find the association, then econometrics is not required. But if you want the estimates of parameters, that for example, this example we took yesterday, that how much is the impact of this wage variable on the hours spent in criminal activities. Means if you want to know the impact of any particular variable on the another, then for measurement, econometrics is required. So just this another example. This is the way we can formulate the equations that today I will cover this one by one. That what is the methodology, how we formulate this, all the equations and all. But this is generally a numerical estimates that when in econometrics, we generally try to find this numerical estimates about the relationship among the variables. And there this econometric thing came in the picture. So today we will going by this particular methodology one by. Just before that, those who were absent yesterday, these are the reference textbooks we are going to use for this particular part 3. Kortzianis Theory of Econometrics, Introductory Econometrics by Woolridge, and Basic Econometrics by Gujarati. As I told you yesterday, Woolridge and Gujarati, you can download PDF form from internet. It's available. Not the latest edition, but I think fourth up to fifth edition Gujarati is also available, and this Introductory Econometric by Woolridge. Only problem is that if you buy only Indian edition or you download the PDF, data sets you will not get. And in these textbooks, the maximum exercises they have explained with the data sets and the examples. And that's required to understand the application part of all the theoretical framework which we studied in part 3. So data sets are important, and that I was explaining yesterday that that's the main thing we are missing in master's and bachelor courses, that we are not thinking about these data sets and how we apply these techniques. So our major focus is on the theoretical only. But with theoretical, this applied balance is required. And these days, because if you are in the research and academia, then you need these software skills as well. It's applied, but with the software, so that you can do that particular activity. So this combination is required. Somewhere or the other, in maximum places, this combination of software skill and applied part is missing. It's not in all the institutions, but at maximum places, and that's the one reason that these courses at commercial places are have high commercial values, because this applied part is not available. So this is the demand and supply. Means where the demand is high, then there the quality is not, means software and applied skills are not available, and where the software and applied skills are available, there are very few institutions who are providing this. So in the marketplace, these courses have a high commercial values. But as economic students, we need these tools. These were the prices I shared, that why these textbooks are so much costly, because this applied part you can only practice with the data sets. So the shortcut method is that you can download the PDF from the internet, but then data sets we required, and data sets, few data sets I received from my students and colleagues that I'll share with you, but it doesn't mean that that's sufficient. You have to arrange more data sets if you want to practice more, because we don't know that whatever research question you have in your PhD, or whenever you go to write a research paper, which of the econometric problem you can face. Means it might be some estimations, might be with some assumptions that we don't know. So the thing is that to get better idea about those all possibilities, the maximum application of these applied parts, that's only possible when you have a different type of examples from different type of textbooks with uh, different type of data sets. Then only you can understand those problems. With limited textbook content, or the only a few data sets, those all possible combinations is not possible. Means basic combination is possible, that you can understand the process, but the problems, or the might be the assumptions, mainly the problems with there in the econometrics is the assumption of the models or the methods, and there might be some unique combination of variables you have, or the functional form. So to get work with that, you need maximum practice, and that's only possible if you try to explore those examples from different textbooks and with different type of data sets. Then only you can understand this as maximum as possible, this applied part. So today, just let's start with the methodology. So yeah, so far this particular part 3 is I'll provide you few data sources of the Gujarati. It's not all the tables I have. They are paid, so far I don't have access to that. Then but yeah, in the meantime is maybe by January I'll get all those data sets as well. We are working on that, but so far it's I don't have. But in place of that, this Woodbridge data sets I am arranging in 1 or 2 weeks. Mostly I'm going to get this 111 data sets that examples are in Woodbridge textbooks. So that data sets I'll share with you wherever we require those tables and data sets for this particular course. But these data sets are means not at free of cost, it's at costly. So I also have a limitation. I have a limited data sets. But we are still working with it with my friends and colleagues and students. We are working on it. Maybe in coming months we will get more than 200 data sets, around 200 different data sets. And but that we are with that we also need some examples from the books and other sources, so that we can try other combinations which are not generally covered in the textbooks. So that's the means this is always the learning part. Maximum we can practice, maximum we can learn. And there are a few internet sources that I am going to share with you. So yesterday I explained this what is econometrics and why it's important, why we are applying, why we are studying this as a separate subject. It's not a choice or optional subject. Actually, it's a compulsory subject. I don't know how why there is still maybe the limitation of this infrastructure in the rural areas, might be availability of teacher. There's so many n factors, means that might be one reason that still this subject is a optional subject. Although in the competitive exams, in economics competitive exams, now it's almost compulsory in all the exams. Either it's a UGC NET or IES or any competitive exam for university you are appearing, this subject is now compulsory. So this is the okay. So let's start with the methodology of econometrics and the goals of econometrics. The main goals is analysis, testing economic theory. Means if you have a theory, you want to test that theory, you want to measurement part, you want to estimate those economic relationships of variables. That's the main goal of econometrics. Second, for policy making and estimate of coefficients of economic relationship. This is not only about the policy making, because if you go with this old textbooks, and generally they give examples of the policy making, but these days now we have this commercial market of data analysis where they also try to predict about the outcomes. So there this is like the forecasting. Means you have this from the commercial data set. These commercial companies, they have data sets about the customers, or any type of study you are doing in the social science or at any other domain. Then this is something either the forecasting or just to take some decision based upon the outcomes you have or the model you have. And this is the purpose of the econometrics. Now the methodology is that it starts with economic theory. I mean, first you have economic theory. Generally, I'm taking example of economic theory, but it's not that this econometric techniques now restricted to economics only. In social sciences, many other subjects also using these techniques. But here I'm going to take maximum examples of economic theory because our textbooks maximum they have these examples of the economics dimension. Then mathematical model of the theory. So first let's go these steps one by one. So first is the economic theory or any other theory which you want to test. So for example, in microeconomics, we study this consumption behavior and then production behavior. So those are the theoretical parts. And those theories, there is no some measurement like the law of demand, like law of demand, that inverse relationship with price and quantity demanded. But how much is the change in price or change in the quantity demanded due to change in the price? That exact number or the in the law of demand, it's not in the. And if you want to estimate that particular relationship, exact relationship for any particular commodity, then you need this econometrics. Similarly, macroeconomic theories. In macroeconomics, generally our main objectives are the main objectives of the basic theories is around the unemployment problem, inflation problem. And these are the basic problems, or the growth models, that the objective of the economy is to maximize the growth. That's I'm taking just the basic notion of the macroeconomics. And within that, to tackle this unemployment, inflation, we have these classical theories, Keynesian theories, then neoclassicals, Keynesian, neo Keynesian, monetarist. I mean, various dimensions: consumption, investment, then aggregate demand, aggregate supply, labor market, commodity market, then money market. In all those dimensions of macroeconomics, we have some theories. Like in the consumption function, we have this consumption function, Keynesian consumption function, then Friedman consumption function, then Modigliani-Frank, then Lisenberry relative hypothesis. So we have theories. In theories, we have variables, their relationships we define with the theories. Generally, we study these theories with the graphical pictures, that what type of relationships are those. But if you want those relationships to study for the policy making, if you want to take some action on that, then you need a measurement. And for measurement, econometrics is required. But first, you need some economic theory or any other theory which you want to test. So that theory is come from your subject or the research question, the field you are working. That depends upon the situation. The next thing after the theory is mathematical model of the theory. That theory, the variables you have in the theory, that you have to now put in the mathematical model. These are just examples. For example, we study this Keynesian psychological law of consumption in this particular form, that independent variable is income and dependent variable is consumption expenditure. So as in the psychological law of consumption, that with the increase in income, consumption expenditure will increase, but MPC will be between 0 and 1. That's the theory. And now the theory you have to put in a mathematical form. Now when you have to put a mathematical, four things are required. First, you have to select which one is your dependent variable. Like in this psychological law of consumption, we say that consumption expenditure depends upon income. And it's not the vice versa. Means when you have a mathematical model, then you need to specify one particular form. Then you have to identify your dependent and independent. Like in this particular example, consumption expenditure is the dependent variable and income is the independent variable. To formulate the mathematical model, these things are required. Then second, functional form. That what is your functional form? Like this y equal to beta 1 plus beta 2 x. This is the functional form. So you have to decide which functional form is suitable for your economic theory. Like these are the examples I'm giving you in the time series, that it depends upon the nature of data and the relationship of the data, that which of the particular functional form will be better for your particular relation of variables or the data set. So that functional form you have to first decide that which functional form is more suitable for that particular nature. And as in the time series, I was trying to explaining you that behind that, some economic reasoning is required, theoretical reasoning is required, that why that particular type of nature, like it's increasing with the decreasing rate, like concave type of curve, then that justification from the theoretical background is required, that why that particular type of relationship, then only you can take that particular mathematical functional form. Then after functional form, once you had decided about the functional form, then the sign of your coefficients like this particular, these are the now parameters. These parameters you have to put in your functional form. Like this is the function. If I again take this example of crime one, this particular y dependent variable is function of all these independent variables. But what type of relationship they have, that you have to define with the mathematical equational form, linear, these things that you have to put in the mathematical form, and that you have to pick which mathematical form is more suitable for your theoretical relationship of your variables. Like we have a production function. This is a different type of functional form. In production function, we study Cobb-Douglas production function, then the ES production function. This equational form is different. Then Phillips curve, that equational form is different. So there are so many types of functional forms, and for that, some theoretical justification is required. That functional form you have to decide in the second step about your economic theory. And here the problem is that maximum time you can see that all are using the OLS technique again and again, but linear relationship again and again, but that's not true. That it's not going to be that always you have a linear relationship among your variables unless you can define or defend that with your theoretical justification. So there are other possible combinations as well that you also have to keep in mind while you are studying or trying to measure the economic estimates of relationships. Then after mathematical form means once you are done with these four general steps, that you decided that which one is a dependent independent variable, you know the functional form, which one is more suitable for your data, then sign of your coefficients, that is it the relation is positive, like here the relationship is positive, that as income increase, consumption expenditure will also increase, the relationship is positive. This thing also you have to keep in mind, that the relationship among your variables is positive or negative. It's not always that this is positive. Definitely you have variables which are negatively related. Then in last, is it a single equational type of function you have, or you have a multiple equation models? Like this we study in simultaneous equation models. This one example I have took for the national income. So these things you have to decide while you formulate the mathematical models for your economic theory. If you have any doubt, then please stop me there. But yes, this is one important thing, that maximum places a different type of functional forms we are not studying. Or maybe we are not putting so much effort to understand that, because it's not that always you have to go with the linear relationship. That's not the only relationship among the variables. Any type of combination is possible. Then after mathematical, model of theory, then econometric model of theory is required. Now, how econometric model is different, and this is the part from where actually econometrics starts. With your mathematical model, now here we introduce one another term, that is we say disturbance, error, residual, random stochastic variables for this particular term. But this particular space we provide in our mathematical model to all unknown factors or other unknown variables. That unknown might be due to you of the study of the variables, or you don't have data. There might be 5-6 combinations. Because of that, you are not able to capture those data. That detail I'll try to cover tomorrow as well, that why this stochastic term and what is the role of these actual stochastic terms in this econometrics. But when we give a space to the unknown factors in the mathematical forms, from here this econometric thing start. Because and the another important that also I explained yesterday, that this space is required because econometrics or economic theories are not like mathematics or physics or chemistry, where controlled experiment is possible, that you can control all the components and you can just measure with the change in any one particular component, and you can see the effect on others. Means you have a controlled experiment. In social science, it's not possible because this our theories are actually about the decision making or the human behaviors, and our human behavior is not like something controlled that depend upon n number of factors. Means one or the other factor is always changing. For example, if I take again this example of this, yeah, factors affecting demand, means you can't control all the factors at a time. It's income is increasing, price of substitutes is increasing, availability of substitute is changing. Means there are n number of factors, the same time they are changing. So it's not possible to do a controlled experiment with this in the social sciences, especially in economics. So we have to provide a space for unknown factors. This random variable is there for the sake of it, not for the sake of it. It's for the space for all the unknown factors. Means the reason is that in you are not able, it's not possible that you can control for all the variables and you can try to find their relation with the dependent variables, like in the mathematics and physics and chemistry. That's not possible here. No, 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 Soumya, you are going to surprise. Econometrics is all about this array term. This is very unreliable statement, but later on you will surprise that this is actually the maximum time you're going to spend with this array term only. This is actually the main part in econometrics, not your y and x. I mean, you are going to surprise with that. More time you're going to spend with this array term as compared to your dependent and independent variables. And there is a reason behind that. But first just understand its theoretical framework, that why this random term. So we provide this space to all unknown factors, the mathematical model, and then this econometric models start, and that's we say that econometric models. So in equational form or graphical, it is just like let's suppose we have this dependent variable and this one is the independent variable. Generally, we start with this simple linear equations, but always please keep in mind that it depends upon the mathematical model of your economic theory. It might be any functional form. So it's not that always you're going to do the study of these type of. Now that's just for simplicity. You always start with this functional form. If you have in single independent variable, one dependent variable with because what it indicates that if we I'll go back to this Keynesian consumption function. The intercept is that when your income is zero, it doesn't mean that you are not consuming anything. You have some average expenditure that might be from the past saving, or you are taking some loan, but still you are consuming something. So your income is zero. It's not that your consumption is zero. So that average consumption when your income is zero, that's your intercept part. So that's maximum time you're going to find this particular intercept part in your econometric models, because it's not necessary that when your value of your independent variables is 0, then your dependent variable is also 0. No, that's not the case. Like here in the example of this consumption expenditure, if income is 0, it doesn't need necessary that your consumption expenditure is also 0. So there is some intercept. So that in space for that intercept without any independent variable, that is our intercept part. Then with our independent variable, we put a parameter, the second parameter. That parameter is slope coefficient. That if in this particular example, if income will increase, then how much consumption expenditure will increase. So that this particular slope coefficient will tell us the rate of change. So, and in the last, we have to give a space to all the unknown factors. Like in the Keynesian theory, the main statement was that it's not that the income is the only deciding factor about the consumption expenditure, but it's the important factors. Means if compared with all other factors, the income is the major factor to decide the consumption expenditure. And that's the theory that it's postulated in the Keynesian framework. That's why we generally study that relationship with the income only. But now, what will be the slope coefficient? Means, is it going to be this relationship is going to be a positive or negative? That depends upon the theory. So this is the equational and graphical form of the econometrics. Now here I'm just taking example of one independent variable, then I can draw this particular diagram. But if you have more than one independent variable, then this line part is not possible. Scatter plot is possible. This is the third step. Econometric model of theory means in econometric model of theory, you are giving space to all other unknown factors. Then the process will start that, okay, you have a econometric theory, then econometric model. Then the next is we need the measurement. Now estimate part, and estimate is all about y and x, these variables data you have. The estimation is about these parameters, that what will the value of slope and how much is the intercept part in any particular theory. That estimation is about econometrics. We want to estimate these parameters, and this study of econometrics subject is about these parameters, that how you estimate these parameters. That's what econometrics is all about. The next step is data. It's okay now. You have theory, you know the mathematical model for that, you introduce the error term, you provide a space for unknown factors because it's a human decision-making process, social science, so you can't control for all the variables. You converted mathematical model into econometric model. Then to estimate the parameter, first we need a data. Means to estimate these parameters, first we need a data of our variables. That data you have to, if it's a primary study, that data you have to collect. And if you are using secondary data, then you have to use secondary data from the source which is suitable for your research. Now this data thing, yesterday I was telling you that in these textbooks, they give examples with the data sets so that they can explain more practical forms of this estimation part. But that's the maximum time we miss this part in our classroom lectures, that we hardly practice these data sets with the software skills. And that the practical thing is in the PhD or research work, actually you are going to estimate these parameters, and for estimate, if you have a data, then you have to apply these econometrics tools. So for application part, data sets are required. Okay, let's suppose we have a data for this particular equation. Let me take an example of wage and independent variables, education, experience, training. This mathematical model is going to be different for different research purposes. It's not the research purposes, but on your nature of your variables. Means the nature of the relationship of your variables. Means if you think your relationship is quite like linear, but linear is means ki the slope is constant throughout the independent variable, means rate of change is same at all the intervals. That's the means increasing with the constant speed type of relationship. But that you have to see upon your relationship of your variables. Is it linear or it might be increasing with decreasing, means any of these other polynomial forms or other non-linear forms. For that, again, theoretical justification is required. Like here in this particular case, in Keynes psychological function, there is not something like this particular that this increase in consumption expenditure with the income, first it will increase and then it will decrease type of, no, this is some linear relationship in the theory. So your come from your theoretical understanding of the relationship of the variables. If you think it's non-linear, like we have these production functions and others, then you have to go with the non-linear form. But if you think it's linear, then you have to go, yeah, that it means depend upon the nature of your variables, relationship of your variables, and definitely all have a different type of research questions, different type of variables. So that depends upon their variables, that whether they are linearly related or non-linear related. So definitely depend upon the researchers research questions and type of relationship of the variables.
So, sir, this is our mathematical function or the equation.
These are your mathematical equations
These,
without error.
like, these are the basis of how we are going to choose our mathematical model, right?
These are just few examples. Means these are not the only mathematical functional relations is possible. It depends upon the situation. These are the
Like,
general forms that we study.
okay, like, can you please go back to the previous slide? Yeah. So here you've explained that this is our functional form of the variables that we established. Then after this, we need to take it to make it a mathematical equation, right? After this.
No, no, this is the mathematical model. Means then this
Mhm.
one is your mathematical form.
This one is the math. That's what I was asking. So this one is the mathematical form based upon the theory that whatever we have studied, right?
Yes, yes.
Okay, and after this, we are going to just simply put the date, I mean, application of this into data and all.
Yeah, then we have to go with the second means space for the unknown variables. Then it convert into econometrics.
Because I am
Econometric
not,
expression.
sorry, I'm not able to understand this particular part. I mean, I have understood the earlier part, but this is not, this is something which is not clear to me.
So here you have a only mathematical relation, means you are not giving space to unknown factors.
Okay.
Is actually you are saying that
No, no, sir, not in this one, which you've just shown. Uh, yeah, this one. So in this particular part, I am not able to get this different curves and models, how what they implicate and how are we going to choose things with it. This I understand that okay, here we added a random variable or error term which we need to do in order to define the unknown variables. But about this particular part which you've told us, ये जो बीच का वाला part था, so that इसके अंदर how we have to go ahead, like what is the implication of this?
your theory, if your theory is saying
Hmm.
that in the production function, you say that this is with the decreasing, mean initially with
Hmm.
increase, means you have this
Hmm.
returns to variable proportions, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
So that relation you are saying it's not linear always. First it increase with the increasing speed, then it increase with
Right,
the
right.
decreasing speed.
Decreasing, yeah, right.
So you are saying it from the theoretical background.
Yes.
So your theory will tell you which relationship you have.
Okay. So this is that is the only implication that it has, right?
Yeah, yeah. Means your mathematical equational form will come from your theoretical relationship that you have to defend.
Okay. Okay, sir. Thank you.
Okay. Means simply what it means that it's not always that you have a linear is what that it's not always that the slope will remain same at all intervals. That if और easy बोलूँ तो it's like कि ऐसा नहीं होगा कि आपकी 100 से 200 इनकम इंक्रीज हुई है तो आपका जितना परसेंट कंजम्पशन इंक्रीज हुई है इतना ही 200 से 300 पे होगा, इतना ही 300 से 400 से होगा, मतलब रिलेशन सेम नहीं रहेगा, इट विल चेंज। अब वो कनकेव होगा मीन्स डिक्रीज होता रहेगा स्लोप, या कन्वेक्स होगा इंक्रीज होता रहेगा, ये आपको थ्योरी से डिफाइन करना है, मीन्स आपकी थ्योरी बताएगी। लेकिन प्रोडक्शन फंक्शन वी स्टडी दिस रिटर्न्स टू फैक्टर variability proportions, different variability proportions. So that theoretical framework will tell you the relationship. It's not that always you have to go with the linear relationship. First, you have to cross-check this relationship, that with what type of relationship you think you have in your variables. In that mathematical appropriate mathematical equation for that type of relationship you have to pick. And if here you will do some mistake, means if you won't give any importance to these mathematical functions, then it's not the purpose of the prediction or forecasting. That's not possible, means somewhere or other you are doing some mistakes. Then yeah, I was on the data. Then okay, now you have a econometric equation. Now you have to get the data about your variables, whatever variables. For example, we have here y and x variables. Like simplicity, take this wage and education relationship. So my wage is dependent variable, education is the independent variable. And first I have to either collect the data if it's a primary study, or use some secondary data if it's available. Then before going just into the equational forms, always try to look the graphical relations, that what type of relations you can see. Here I'm trying to look upon the relation of wage with the education, wage with the experience. So always look upon some graphical notions, that what type of relations. But these are the skills you can just acquire after some time. Means after practicing different type of graphs, equations, then only you will get these skills, that how we can get some idea from the graphs that whether our relationship is linear or non-linear. Means from the scatter plots diagrams, how can we get this idea whether this relationship is linear across all the scatter plot? Is there some structural break that is required, or is there some curve type of nature, concave, convex? These skills you can acquire after some time. That's why I'm saying that maximum data sets you will practice, the maximum different type of combinations you have to work to get maximum knowledge about these type of relationships. Generally, that's what yesterday I was describing, that when you study only the theoretical part through the equations and all, you miss this particular part, that what about the applied part, what about the other functional forms. Is that's the also important, that it's not that all the time you have a linear relationship. So if you studied econometrics for one semester and with the linear relationship, and you can say that I know the econometrics, that's not. Still there are n number of other functional forms that you have to practice. Then only you can say, okay, I am familiar with this particular subject. So these skills, like with the graphs, one can say that is it going to be a linear or non-linear. But once you will get expertise with these different type of combinations, you can guess these works and you can work with that. But these skills are required. And then after the data, if you have a data, now our purpose is to estimate the parameters. The whole purpose for the econometrics is that to estimate the parameters, because we need measurement part about the parameter, that okay, consumption is increasing with the increase in income, but how much? Means if income increase by 100 rupees or 200 rupees, how much consumption expenditure will increase? Like in the policy making in macroeconomics, this Keynesian equation, national income equal to consumption, investment, four components, that government expenditure, net export and import in the open economy model. All these components provide in aggregate the GDP. So change in one component has implication on the other components as well, that we study with the multiplier. So for that, first you need the relationship, right? That, like for example, this year due to Corona, now consumption and income both are declining. So this is about the government. They are worried that let's suppose this year if GDP will decrease by 20%, then how much its impact is on the employment. So these decisions and these conclusions you can only find when you have some measurement part of these parameters, or relationship of these variables that you have in the theory, economic theory. So that's why this estimation is important. So now the next is, after data, estimate the parameters. For example, in the second, I explained you few one or two simple regression functions. This we do with this data, but now here first we have to understand that how we estimate these parameters, this slope and intercept. It's a simple linear regression model with one independent variable only. Now you have to understand that how we estimate. And when you estimate these models, means these parameters, now you can see in your econometric equation, you have an array term, right? You introduce the array term. But where is array terms when you estimate these results? After estimating, you will only get slope and intercept. So where this disappear, this array term will disappear. Means we provided a space for unknown factors, but where now these unknown factors? So this estimation is the fifth step in econometric methodology. First, I'm just going with the methodology, then this whole part 3, part 4 is about the estimate, so that we are going to do for 2 months. First, just understand the process so that you can get idea that what we will do actually in the econometrics. After estimation, okay, let's suppose I estimated and now my wage is the dependent variable and education is the independent variable. So here, this is my scatter plot, and let's suppose I estimated with some method. That method I'll discuss in detail. For just take it hypothetical that you estimated this parameter with some method. Okay, just take OLS method. Now you have this regression line based upon those estimates. Now again, you have to see where these estimates based upon this model or line are suitable, means the scatter plot, is it justifiable for that particular. So these things are not in a subjective form in econometrics. We have some parameters to decide about it, that whether this particular regression equation or the parameters that we estimated are justifiable for this particular prediction or forecasting or policy making. So for that, we have some theoretical parameters that we study in the properties of the methods, like blue property, linear, unbiased, efficient, that we will do in details. Means we have some parameters to test it whether this particular line is better for this model or not. Means that this test is all about the parameters as well as your model as well. So here this array term will disappear. Means you have this array term, but now you can see this array term is actually, in the beginning, this array term is unknown factors, but once you have estimated model, then its meaning is that the gap between actual values and the estimated values. And these are the actual values of this education and wage, but all the actual values are not on the estimated line. So there is a gap in between that, and this gap is because of unknown factors. So this gap we say is the residual or the array term. So actually we measure this array term from the data. Means there is, yes, in the econometric model value, right? Econometric model, you give a space to the array term, but you don't have data for array term, right? So it's not possible to measure. That's why we've given a space to the array term. But if data is not there, then how we measure this array term? So that's the all about that, about this array term, that we estimate, first we estimate the parameters, and then from the estimated regression line we take a difference of the actual values, and that will give us the error terms. Maybe you are not getting this point if you are first time doing it. Don't take a stress. I'll explain it tomorrow in detail. That what this tomorrow I'll start with this array term because this OLS methodology is all about this array term only. Yes, this whole purpose is with this array term to minimize this array term. But just understand that the fifth step we have to estimate the parameters. Then after estimating the parameters, hypothesis testing is required for those parameters that we can because maximum time we do these studies based upon some sample statistics, or you are testing some economic theory from your data set. So you have to cross check it with the hypothesis testing. Either you are going to agree with that theory or you are going to disagree with that theory. That depends upon your results after hypothesis testing. So you're going to test those results. That's the sixth step. Every time when we estimate some parameter, with that we have to do hypothesis testing so that we can see that whether those estimates can we use those estimates for some policy making or about empirical estimate to or generalize or implicate find some implication based upon the model we have. For that we need a hypothesis testing. And after hypothesis testing, if that's in the hypothesis testing, it's significant results you will find, then only you can use it for forecasting, prediction, or for the policy purposes, those parameters or that information. Once it's you find it significant in the hypothesis testing. So this is the methodology of econometrics. The one important precaution you have to take is I want to that highlight, although but I have found that especially in the region I'm in last 3-4 years in this road, the region Haryana, Punjab and Himachal, among the researchers, but I have found that they are doing vice versa. Like what they are doing actually, if they are not getting significant results after hypothesis testing, then they are what they are doing is from the data sets, but actually you do that while we collect the primary data, we collect information for various type of variables. Then let's suppose you have any particular theory, like take this example that wage and education, and you have this theory that with increase in the number of your education, wage will increase. Let's suppose after all these econometric calculations and hypothesis testing, you found that either your theory is not proved or relationship is negative. It may be negative, right? So what researchers actually do, they change their theory. Means first they found the results and now the results are not accordance with their theory or their hypothesis. So what they do is both the combination they are trying. If they are smart enough, then they are changing the data sets. That's we call data mining. Then they are making significant results out of the data sets which actually they are not significant. Or another trick they are doing, they are changing the theories. Means they are going with the separate type of hypothesis testing or the different, they go with another type of literature where those relationships are proved, whatever they found in the hypothesis testing as significant. And this practice is among the many researchers. Means I can't deny that I have seen it maximum times they are doing it, but this is not you do practices. Means the thing is that I'm just worried is that while they complete the PhD and they're going to teach in the colleges and universities after the PhD, I don't know what they are teaching. Means how can they teach something to the students which they never done, means and they are doing it, means but this is not the way you have to do the research. It's totally incorrect. Means just because you found some problem, rather than finding its solution or accepting the mistakes, either you change the data sets results, or you go with some other type of hypothesis, means you change your hypothesis. So these practices are really a problem in the among the researchers, and these are everywhere. Okay, so this is the methodology of econometrics. So what we are going to do now, economic theory, you have a different economic theories, it depend upon your research question. For that mathematical model, you have to select which is appropriate. This is not part of something of econometrics, this functional relationships. It's part of actually mathematical knowledge. But generally in economics, when you study these theories in microeconomics, macroeconomics, development economics, public finance, international economics, with all the theories in maximum textbooks, you have this graphical explanation as well. So if in any particular theory in the graphical that relationship is not linear, then the reason they always define with the theorem is why that's non-linear. It's if convex or concave. So in all the theories, that relationship is defined with the theoretical framework and logic behind that. So it's not that in all the economic theories we have studied only the linear relationship. There are non-linear as well, like Philip Curve we studied. Then in the microeconomics in production functions, the relation returns to factors, production functions. So when you are doing research in any particular subject, means any domain of the economics, it's in the production function or industrial economics or agriculture economics, then you have to go with the literature and just try to look upon those previous research works, that which type of relationship they have applied and what are the logic behind that. Means from there you can get this idea, because let's suppose we are doing first time and we collected some primary data. So actually we don't have this idea, means we have some logic, but we don't have this relationship idea, that is it increasing, decreasing, means this consumption functions, is a linear or non-linear. For that, the first, as a researcher, as a beginner, because we are in the PhD, so we are just beginners, then you have to go with the literature, that what type of relationships means other econometric models have applied, those who worked upon this particular type of relationships. From there you will get this idea, means are they going with the linear, non-linear or any other functional forms. So there is no shortcut about that, means even if you study the econometrics, these things you have to practice with the literature. So one, again and again I am telling, the literature is very crucial value while you work with these econometrics as well, because only literature will tell you which type of mathematical model, because it's not we are doing something first time, maybe definitely a previous earlier any other researcher might have done any work and he studied literature and get some this notion that which type of relation. That exercise you have to do before starting with the mathematical models. Or this is again this is another thing. It might be that you can see the scatter plot and you choose the any functional form, but that's not the correct method, because theoretical justification is required, that why you have picked that particular type of relationship. Okay, so this is the methodology. Now what we are going to do, we are going to study estimation part, means the major focus of this particular series is how to estimate now these parameters. Means once you have theory, mathematical model, then econometric model, then how you estimate the parameters. And that's what maximum time we are going to do in this part 3 and part 4, estimation and hypothesis testing. So for estimation, there is no one single technique. The reason is that the combination of your variables and type of data and methods and assumptions, there are n possible combinations. So it's not possible that we can go study one particular method like OLS and we can estimate the parameters. This thing yesterday I also trying to make this point, that because of the variability, now variability is in the nature of variable. It might be your dependent variable might be nominal, ordinal, interval or ratio. Your independent variable might be nominal, ordinal, interval or ratio. Your data might be cross-sectional, time series, pooled or panel. So these different combinations are possible. So for these different combinations, one simple technique is not possible. So in econometrics, generally we study this with some simple procedures. So first, generally what we start with, in this particular part 3, means in this part 3, the focus is, if again I'll show you this particular syllabus for this particular part 3. we are going to start with simple linear regression model. And we are going to start with cross-sectional data and quantitative dependent variable. Means throughout this part 3, we will work with maximum time, 90% we are going to work with cross-sectional data and quantitative dependent variable. In this one combination we are going to work with in this part 3. Other combinations like qualitative, this nominal scale dependent variable in the cross-sectional data, that combination we will pick in the fourth part. Then time series data, that also we will cover in the fourth part. So in the third part, we are going to work with the one combination, that's cross-sectional data, quantitative dependent variable, and any type of independent variable. Means it's nominal, ratio, independent. There is no restriction to independent variable in the part C, but there is a restriction to dependent variable and type of data. So we are going to study cross-sectional type of data in part 3 with ratio interval, this quantitative dependent variable, ratio scale variable, with any type of independent variables. I hope you are getting this point, that there are different type of combinations based upon your theory, nature of your variables. So we don't want to mix it. So to understand this combination one by one, so there is a process. So in basic informatics, generally we start with the cross-section and quantitative dependent variables. And for simplicity, first we go with this one independent variable, then with the more than one independent variable, that's a multivariate regression analysis. So this combination we are going to study in the part 3. So this cross-section, ratio scale dependent variable, that's the restriction in the part 3. I hope this point is clear. And there are the next thing means this is the combination of model or the variable we are going to study in this part 3. But with these methods, the next thing is about the method. Means now which method? Generally we have in the classical econometrics approach, we have these two methods, OLS and MLE. More or less 80%, 90% in this part 3 is the OLS technique that I start tomorrow. Means but this OLS and how we estimate parameters with OLS means estimation I'll start tomorrow. But these methods means one is your model. Okay, now get segregate these things. Means you have a model. In model you have a variables, the nature of variable and the type of data that depend upon the situation you have. So for that we have a different type of combinations. But with that, to estimate the parameters, we have different methods. And two major methods which generally we apply in econometrics is OLS and MLE. And each method, like OLS method, this method has 9 or 10 crucial assumptions. So with this method, means OLS method, first we have to understand the assumptions as well of this particular method. It's not that you can apply this method anywhere. There are assumptions in this method, and these assumptions are about nature of data, relationship of variables, and maximum assumptions are related to this array term, the space you provided to unknown factors, relation of this array term with the other variables, nature of this residual term, model specifications. There are many important assumptions about this your model. Once these assumptions will fulfill, then only you can apply the OLS. So first we have to understand these assumptions about the method. Then we have to estimate the parameter if the assumptions are met. And if we found any particular problem with the assumption, then first we are going to do that. We are going to find out that why that particular problem is there. Is there any solution for that particular problem? So in this part, see this the next major thing is these problems like multicollinearity, heteroscedasticity, autocorrelation, model specification test. These are the problems with the assumptions. Means there are assumptions in the method. So if is there any problem with that assumption, then we have to study that particular problem. And these are the four common problems that we find in our econometric OLS method that we are going to study in detail one by one. So that's also a time consuming part in this part 3. And then this is about the part 3, means that we are going to study in the part 3. And another important thing that when we apply the method, then we need to know that is this method is appropriate, is there some parameter to test this method, is it appropriate or no. So there are properties of the estimators once we apply any particular method. So if those properties are proved, theoretically they are proved, then we can say, okay, this method is appropriate for this particular estimations. So those proofs we have to understand. Means you are not going to prove those proofs after every statistical study or sample study. No, those things are in the background. Means this proofs of properties, that these are the properties of this method. This is like let's suppose you are going to a shop, you want to buy a particular mobile phone, and you have this thing in mind that I need these features. So you have this thing in your mind that I need mobile phone with these features, then only I can buy this particular mobile phone. So these features is something here like the we will only apply OLS if we satisfy these conditions. These conditions are the properties we prove in econometrics. Okay, that these test this particular these different type of tests, this method is proved. That's why we are applying this particular methods. Means that it's not that randomly we have some method and we'll apply. There are some statistical properties of that method. Means they have proved that, and they're required to apply for any particular estimation. So we have to understand them theoretically, why we apply OLS. So that's the theory part. And other side, when we estimate, we understand it with the derivation process. That's the derivation part. And then maximum time, I'll try to make this balance that with estimation or any other new problem we study, we'll try to do that exercise with this data on the data sets. Which data sets I have? Like I have a data sets of this voltage introductory econometrics, so that we can also understand practical applicability of that particular problem in hand. I hope you got this point, that what we are going to study in part 3. The nature of variable is dependent variable, ratio scale, and cross-sectional data. This combination, any type of independent variable. But method, we are going to study OLS only, one particular method to estimate the regression equations. And this method is only for particular type of relation of the mathematical form. So those detailed assumptions, tomorrow I'll take those assumptions, and the estimation process. Now just to end this particular part, I want to give you some glimpse about this OLS, means what this method is all about, that, and how we have selected this method, that why we are working with this method maximum time with the OLS. So I'll go back to this array term once again. Let's suppose we have this theory that with the increase in the education, in number of years of education, income will increase in the form of wage or any other variable you have. Now to test this particular theory, means why we test this theory, let's suppose you want to formulate this in the policy that education is important, then only we have some better income opportunities. Let's suppose you have this particular notion. Not only on a, if you are at, this is at the individual level, then you're not going to do an econometric study, because you can just look nearby that, okay, these individuals have a higher income. Let's take this notion that we don't have an internet and all these things, televisions, that we are watching that, okay, these guys have a higher income, they have a higher education. No, let's take this notion that we are in some secular place and we don't have any connectivity. We have a small group. Let's suppose we are in some isolated village. We have a small group. So we want to take this action that while we put our child in one more year in education or not, means in the higher education or not type of thing. Okay. So what you will do, you will look around and you will see, okay, these individuals have a higher income, but they have better jobs because they have a better educations, because for these type of jobs, higher education is required. And then you can take the decision. This is the one way individually when how we take decisions. But when things come at a macro level or some big scale, like the firm and employee, this new, we have this now market scenarios where one firm has a different branches across different states, urban towns. So they take a decision at some large scale, or the government administrations we have at a district wise or village wise. There we have this expenditures and policies. So you need this particular estimation then. Okay, that okay, how much is the change in the income with the 1 year increase in the education? So if you want to study this, let's suppose this is the thing you have in the mind. If you want to study this, you want to estimate this for the estimation process. Now, first thing is required is mathematical model. And mathematical model, these four things you have to keep in mind. First, dependent and independent. So in this case, our wage is dependent variable and education is the independent variable. And how we decided? It decided with the theory we have, this human capital and these theories, Schuld theories. There are many theories in the human capital. Now our relationship is clear that this one is the dependent, this one is the independent variable. With that, we need a mathematical notion that which type of relation is it? Means is it a linear or non-linear? Means the second thing is required is functional form. Is it a linear or a non-linear? Then you have to again with the theory that in this particular scenario, the question is it the same that from second standard to bachelor or masters, that with 1 year increase in the education, the increase in wage is going to remain same? Or is there something different? That if education will increase from second standard to seventh standard or 10th standard, the increase in wage is different. And if this education will increase from 11 to plus 2 or then graduation to post graduation, then change in wage is different with change in 1 year in the education. Means this theoretical notion you have to keep in mind, that you have to think about. Means is it constant, means all across the education years, or this thing is changing? Now here you need some theoretical background. Again, to make a mathematical model, you have to think it about theoretically. And for that, I'm saying literature is required, because in PhD we are beginners, we are not expertise. So we have to go with the literature, that what theory is telling about this relationship, and only from that notion you will get some idea whether it's linear relation or non-linear, and then only you can pick these mathematical equational forms. Once that is decided, then the sign of the parameter, like is it positive relation that with increase in education wages increase, or is it negative? With the increase in education wage will decline. Then you have to think about this sign. So again, theoretical background you required. It's not that you can see, means in my area the educated peoples have less income and less educated have more income, so it's a negative relation. No, this notion is not like that. You need some systematic study, theoretical framework behind your logics about these relationships. This is again from the theory. So far, everything is coming from the theoretical notion you have in research question, not from the other domain of mathematics and econometrics. Once that is decided and you have decided that, okay, this is a single equation model, and then you have to introduce the array term. Now you are giving space to other factors. Like in this wage example, there are other factors as well, right? Means it's not that wages are depend upon education only. It might be on experience, training, and number of factors. So we are giving space to unknown factors. Now you reach to the econometric model. Now next thing is that, okay, we reach to the econometric model. Means we reach to this particular stage. We reach to this particular econometric model. Now next thing is that we are interested that how much is the change in the wages with the increase in one education year, or if you are taking some category type of data that levels of education, how much is the increase in the wages with the change in the education level. Now this, for this estimation, you have these two parameters, right? The first intercept is telling that if education is zero, the wages are not going to be zero. So it means individuals are earning even the education is zero. So it's not that only education is impacting changes in the wages. There are other factors. So there might be some wages they're earning. That's your intercept term. And that this term you have to estimate, because for regression line, two things are required. This intercept from where you have to start the regression line, and then slope to join all the points so that you can get regression line. So you need estimation for both slope coefficient as well as for your intercept. Now here the things come that how we estimate these parameters. From here this method part will start, that which method you will use to estimate these parameters. Now in this part 3, as I'm telling you, we are going to 90% with the OLS technique. So I'm just going to give you notion about the OLS, detailed discussion about the assumption and basic terms and how this OLS estimate, that we will start from the tomorrow. But just get this idea about this methodology. You reached here with the econometric model. Next step is to estimate these parameters. To estimate these parameters, you need particular method to estimate. Now, this OLS method is this means the idea behind this method is that the gap between your estimated values. Now here you have to, those of you who are doing this first time, now here you have to change the gear, totally different gear. Now I'm going to change in the different gear. अब situation ये है कि आप प्रैक्टिकल सारा भूल जाओ, आपके पास क्या डेटा है क्या नहीं है उसको सारा दिमाग से निकाल दो, क्या आपका डिपेंडेंट है क्या आपका डिपेंडेंट है उसको टोटली साइड कर दो. अब just for the understanding of the method, just forget what is x, y, beta 1, beta 2, array term, leave it aside. Just understand the process, and this is the way I learn these things. First is understand कि हम कर क्या रहे हैं, क्यों कर रहे हैं, then only कैसे करना है वो बाद में decide करेंगे. So what you have to first, the purpose here is we need a regression like, okay, means this particular estimation, the whole purpose is, let's suppose the purpose is forecasting. For that we need a regression line. So we need this estimator in such a manner that maximum time your forecast will be nearby the actual values. Means we want to minimize this gap of actual values and estimated parameters. And this gap is actually residual due to unknown factors. And this OLS technique is designed in such a manner that it minimizes this particular gap between actual values and estimated regression line. So this is the basic bottom line of this OLS technique, that this technique is designed in such a manner that we will minimize this gap between actual value and estimated regression line. That is our residual unknown factors, that these gaps are due to unknown residual factors. These we are going to minimize, and that's about the OLS. That will tomorrow we will start that how we will minimize it. Okay, the purpose I got that, okay, we have to minimize it because we want regression line that will explain maximum or that will be on an average mean all the x values, joint all average values, so that we can forecast with minimum forecasting error. That the purpose you have about the regression line. That's only possible when you have this minimum possible gap. And this is the background about the OLS, that this method is designed in such a way that it minimizes this gap. So I think for today, since few of you are just beginners, it's sufficient. I hope now you got this, that what is econometrics methodology. And we will start now with the cross-sectional data, quantitative dependent variable, this in the part throughout the part 3. And for simplicity, we will start with only one independent variable with one method OLS. And this method we are going to use in this part 3. For this method, I'll start tomorrow, that OLS, that with OLS, how we estimate these parameters. What are the assumptions of OLS? Then only you can apply this OLS. If assumptions are not fulfilled, it's like the classical model, that law of demand. There are these ceteris paribus assumptions, right? That the price you substitute is constant, there is no change in the income, other factors. Similarly, we have assumptions in the OLS. If these assumptions is not fulfilled, then the purpose of OLS, what we are expecting out of it, is not fulfilled, not possible to fulfill. So we have to understand the assumptions. This is, we say, the theoretical background about these methods. And then we have to apply it in the real data sets that we have from these few data sets that we have. इंटरप्रिटेशन नॉट इंटरप्रिटेशन तो लास्ट में है, नॉट द बिगिनिंग of it. पहले एस्टिमेट होगा, इंटरप्रिटेशन स्टार्ट में नहीं होगा. एंड इंटरप्रिटेशन इज ऑलवेज विद द थ्योरी. डेटा से कुछ इंटरप्रेट नहीं होता है. इंटरप्रेट हमेशा होता है जो आपने थ्योरी में नोशन ली होती है, उस थ्योरी को आप अपने रिजल्ट के साथ इंटरप्रेट करते हो, वही इंटरप्रिटेशन होती है. इट्स नॉट समथिंग डिफरेंट की इंटरप्रिटेशन अलग से आती है, नहीं. जो आपने मैथमेटिकल फॉर्म, इकोनोमेट्रिक फॉर्म में इक्वेशनल फॉर्म ली होती है, जो आपने वहाँ साइंस लिए होते हैं, जो आपने वहाँ रिलेशन लिया होता है, लीनियर नॉन लीनियर, उसी को हम इंटरप्रेट करते हैं पैरामीटर के साथ, एंड दैट वी कॉल इंटरप्रिटेशन ऑफ द रिजल्ट्स. बट दैट आई डू once our estimation is done, and then hypothesis testing. Generally, the process is interpretation comes after hypothesis testing, because if those results are disapproved, the notion you have in the hypothesis testing, then there is no point in the interpretation that we do in the end. So I hope these steps are clear to now all of you, that what these steps are, and we are going from tomorrow for this estimation OLS method. Means with the OLS method, how we estimate. What is OLS method is about, why we use this method, what are the assumptions of this method, and what are the qualities, what are the properties. Means जो टेस्टिंग हमने जैसे मोबाइल फोन एग्जांपल दिया था कि आपने फीचर सेट किए हैं, ये होगा तभी मैं मोबाइल फोन पाई. सिमिलरली वी हैव दिस testing features, and that's proved theoretically. We will also do those proofs, that we can get this confidence, okay, this OLS technique is good, we can apply it. And there are limitations that with assumptions and methods. I'll try to give you some example where you can't apply this OLS technique. So I hope this is clear. So this is only for Gagan, to in the end, interpretation in the end, not the beginning. मैथोलॉजी में इंटरप्रिटेशन आपकी यहाँ पे आएगी, फोरकास्टिंग में, तो मैं भी इंटरप्रिटेशन यहीं पे करूँगा, not in the beginning. Okay, so this is clear, means all of you. So tomorrow we will start with the estimation OLS method with derivations. ये estimate कैसे करना है, क्यों करना है, assumptions क्या है, assumptions की importance क्या है, and once we estimated, then what are the properties of, means why we what are the properties that proved with the OLS method, so that we are applying the OLS. So thank you so much. Tomorrow we will any question, otherwise I am stopping here. Tomorrow we will start with the estimation process.